Good morning everyone and welcome to London. In this video, I'm just going to be walking around and talking about different techniques that I use and you should use in your street photography to make your images a little bit more interesting, because there's one thing taking an image, but composing it the right way and using different techniques can make images look a lot better. And it can be in all styles of street photography, whether you're focusing on the people, whether you're focusing on the scenes, these techniques work for everything. So let's get into it and talk and shoot and enjoy the day. The first technique I want to talk about is something you see a lot in my work, and that is reflections. There's a lot of reflections in a city and you can use it in a bunch of different ways. One of the ways that I use it quite a bit is if I'm photographing a scene. Take this wall in the background here for an example. It's quite boring if I just stood here and took it at head height. There might be some minimalism to it because it's a white wall, and if someone's wearing dark clothing, you get that contrast, but a very simple shot, not always great. However, if you find a surface that's mirrored, like a glass wall or windows and stuff like that, or a mirror, because there's tons of different ways you can get reflections in the city, it works quite well to just stick your camera up against it, and there you've got a split perspective and a double reflection, and then you just wait for the subject to walk through the frame and it creates quite a unique perspective of it. It's good as well because you don't have to rely on any light, so if there's no sun or if there's no shadows, it doesn't matter because you've got the unique perspective using the window as your frame, and then all you need to do is just wait for the right subject to walk through the frame and you get them twice pretty much. Something a bit more unique to just photographing the wall at eye level, I think, anyway. And like I say, there's tons of ways to use reflections in the city, and I'll show you more as we go. Another way that you can use reflections right here is puddles. There's a lot of puddles around the city. Even if it hasn't been raining, I always find that there's some form of water or suspicious liquid on the side of a road. And don't be afraid to get low and change your perspective and stick the camera quite low to the ground to get that unique bit of reflection. And you can do it in multiple ways. You can use the puddles to mirror the surface like we did with the windows, or you can just shoot in the puddle and capture the subject just in the puddle for even more of a unique perspective. So you're not capturing the world as you see it, you're shooting through the puddle and capturing it from a whole different element. I want to talk about framing, because framing is probably one of the most important techniques that I use quite a bit, and you can frame people in countless different ways. The first way is obviously using light and shadow to frame someone. So if I am shooting this wall here, for example, I'm using this bit of light to create a frame for the subject to go in. So I can use this grated area here on the shutter to capture someone in lighter clothing, and as they walk past, I can expose for the highlights and crush the shadows a little bit to create quite a nice minimal scene with someone walking through it. And using darker clothing when they're standing in the light, you can create a nice bit of contrast as well. That is just one of many examples of framing. There are tons of different ways you can do it. You can find archways, and archways are a great easy way to frame someone in. If you're standing in an archway, you make sure that the archway is in your frame as well, so you're using that as a subframe, and then you can capture them through it. You can use reflections again, so like we used the reflections on windows, you can shoot into the window and keep the window frame in your image to create a nice bit of framing as well. Tons of different ways to use framing, and as I come across them, I'll show you examples as well. So here you go, framing using an archway. You can be standing in the archway, and yes, the scene is quite busy at the other end, so not the perfect example, but you see what I mean. You can keep the archway in frame, and as people walk through, you can capture them as they're walking through. All you need is a nice clean frame at the other end to make it quite minimal and make sure that the subject stands out, because that's the most important thing. You want the subject to not get lost in the frame. Now, believe it or not, I'm not actually interested in table tennis. What I am interested in though is the framing opportunities that you can get by using this element of the ping pong table and the table tennis table to just shoot through the holes, focusing on the background, and then using the camera to position it so as someone walks through the area you're focusing on, preferably with a cleaner background, you can get quite an interesting image with it. Okay, another very classic way of framing is using telephone boxes in London, but anything that has a nice grid shape to it you can shoot through, and because it's the same on the other side as well, you can create a nice square frame to position your subject. You need them quite close so they don't get lost between the background, but it is quite a nice little way of framing. Even better if some of the glass has been knocked out, because then you haven't got too much reflection to affect with the image. So say if this window pane was knocked out, I'd shoot through, still get the telephone box in focus somewhat, and then have the subject focused on the other side of the phone box. Okay, another bit that's quite important when you're photographing people more than the scene is don't just photograph someone, because just photographing someone's boring. Look for expressions, look for gestures, people using their hands, people holding hands, people embracing. It adds a story element to your photo, and you see it all the time. And it's something that you might not always pay attention to, but it's really important to just look for those little things. If someone's holding someone's hand, or if someone's pointing, or if someone's taking a selfie, there's different things that you can look for to show emotion, to tell a story in an image. And it's better than just seeing someone random on the street and just taking a photo of them, because you're looking for that detailed element. And don't be afraid to get closer as well. If you're seeing someone holding hands, focus on the hand element. Don't get the whole subject in, but just take a photo of the hands holding, or if someone's got their hands behind their back. Hands tell a story, and people don't always realize that that in and of itself is quite a good image. Rather than just photographing a person, photograph their hands, photograph the details, get close. Can really add to your imagery. I think One New Change is a perfect place to mention perspective in terms of techniques that you can use. Sometimes it's always best to see if you can get a higher vantage point or a lower vantage point. So you're not shooting directly at eye level, you can shoot looking up, or shoot like I am now, looking down. And as you can see, these stairs are creating a great leading line, and that works really well, but it wouldn't work as well if I was on the same level as it. So I'm getting a nice high perspective to get an interesting composition, and as someone walks up those stairs, they'll contrast quite nicely and get a nice frame. Now you can also get quite a cool image by using perspective to make a subject seem bigger than they actually are. That pigeon was a prime example there. So close to the frame, using the buildings in the distance to give some scale, and the pigeon, it's almost like a paid actor. It's really photogenic. And there you have it. Big old pigeon. Another technique, now I don't use this very often, but many people do. In fact, I think it's overdone and a bit of a trend, but it does have its place, and that's creating motion with your camera. Now, I only recommend using this when it's actually warranted, when you're actually trying to capture motion. Adding motion to a still image, like a building, and you're using a slow shutter to drag the image, I think it's tacky, personally. Each to their own. But, to be fair, it does have its place, whether you're panning to follow a subject or a bus or something like that, or whether you're in a hustly bustly area and you're trying to capture the motion of it. Using a slow shutter to do that works really nicely at times. So it has its place. I've used it very rarely, but it's a good technique. Rather than to freeze everything, sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want a bit of motion to your image, which is why not having your shutter speed so high can really help with that at times. Great example of motion right here. To do a proper good panning shot though, you need to match the speed in which things are traveling before you take the shot. So start by moving with it before the shot, and then take the shot midway through your pan. So you're matching the speed. And then you take the shot midway through and things will be a bit more in focus. Now these are going up and down as well, so you really need to, it's quite a difficult one to get purely in focus, but you get the motion element of it. Next technique is leading lines. So you can use this again in hundreds of different ways, but one way that is very typical is to say you've got a subject standing at the end of this corridor here. It's one thing to just shoot as you normally would at eye level, but instead using this banister to get low and then expose for those highlights, it works quite nicely to lead your eye into where you want the viewer to see. So there's a subject there, but there's a bunch of different reflective surfaces around, which there is in One New Change. You're using the leading line here to really emphasize where you want the viewer to look. And it happens so subconsciously. That's why leading lines are used so much, because naturally your eye is drawn to wherever the line is pointing. And I use this quite a bit in my images. One of the prime examples I can give you most recently is I was in the Barbican and there's a staircase. I was shooting up into the staircase using the sky as a bit of negative space behind the subject. But I then positioned my camera on the banister, as I just showed you here at One New Change, and the light was hitting that banister really nicely to really define that leading line leading to the subject. So it works really well, draws your eye straight in. It's a good framing technique, 100%. One of my favourite shots to take is this staircase in One New Change, and it's a great example of a leading line as well. So naturally, your eye is drawn to the spiral of this staircase in the middle here. And even though there's no one on it, it's a naturally nice frame. So as you position someone at the bottom or at the top of the stairs, your eyes are naturally drawn to that spiral, which leads you to the subject that you are photographing. Okay. Leading lines, this is another example. I'm using Millennium Bridge as a bit of a frame and using the wire on the bridge to create a leading line to my subject, which is going to be silhouetted quite nicely between the two bits of wire. So I'm just positioning my camera, focusing at infinity to get the subjects, and then just waiting for a nice bit of empty space to make sure that the silhouettes are nice and in frame, and then you're using the wire as your nice leading line. I've done it before and there was a bit of backlight from the subject, but there isn't currently. But yeah, it's a really nice frame, works really well, and you could do it on both sides of the bridge, so you got plenty of options to work the scene here. So this is another example of how to use a leading line, but without it being too obvious. Like I said earlier, you could use a railing or a banister, but this is perfect, using the arrow that says pedestrians on it, pointing to an area where pedestrians could walk, you know? It's quite interesting in terms of that. It draws your eye exactly where you need to look. Great example of a leading line, which you can just use roadworks and construction to do that. Okay, I'm going to use the staircase to explain what blocking is now. Another technique that I recommend using, and it's just to get rid of distraction really. Say that there is someone on the left side of this staircase or a bit of rubbish that I don't want in it. Then I would use a foreground element of this wall here to block that first side of the image, and it'll draw your eye to where you need the subject to be, and in my case it'll be up there, blocking out whatever rubbish would be on the left side of the frame. So very simple, just putting yourself up to anything as a foreground element could be considered blocking. So I could even come over to this railing here and use the railing to block a certain part of said image and just work through that. So plenty of different opportunities to do this. Pretty much in every frame that you see on the streets, you'll be able to use blocking in some way to block and distraction out of your image, and I do it all the time. Here's some examples. Okay, there you go. A few techniques that seem simple when you talk about them, but it's something you just need to think about when you're photographing, really, because many people just put the camera up to their eye and take the shot. Just those little things really help elevate your images. So I hope that that's given you something to think about, even though they are really simple techniques. Don't overthink it, because that slows you down. You don't want to be slow. You just want to have that in mind when you are framing up your shot, basically. So yeah, hope it helped. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Any other techniques that you use down below in the comments as well. I'll see you in a couple of weeks for another video. Bye bye.